Well, came back for a new video. Imagine eating your favorite seafood, drinking
Plastic is everywhere. It's in our clothes, our food, even the air we breathe. So it's no surprise that plastic is also in our bodies. But how exactly do these microscopic particles affect our health? Micro and nanoplastics generally enter our bodies in one of three ways: through the air, through our skin, and most commonly, through what we eat and drink. While processed foods have the most plastic, particles have infiltrated our farms and seas, making their way into most seafood, meat, and produce. Plastic packaging sheds particles into whatever it touches. A single liter of bottled water can contain over 200,000 of them. Even metal cans and paper wrappers often hide plastic linings. At home, particles enter our food from plastic cutting boards and Teflon cookware. Plastic storage containers are especially bad. Microwaving food in these can release millions of particles into your leftovers. The amount of plastic you breathe depends on your environment. Urban areas and indoor spaces contain more airborne particles than rural ones, but most people inhale tens of thousands of particles a day. Finally, beauty and personal care products let plastics and toxic chemicals seep into our skin. Once inside, nanoplastics are small enough to pass through most cell membranes and settle deep in our tissues. Our bodies recognize these invaders and trigger inflammation to remove the foreign particles. But since our natural defenses can't break down plastic, the inflammatory response can trigger repeatedly, causing long-term damage. For example, particles circulating through the respiratory system can trigger widespread inflammation that impairs breathing and contributes to asthma and pneumonia. Worse still, inflammation brings an influx of blood to these tissues, which plastics use to hitch a ride throughout the body. Particles have been detected in our livers, spleens, muscles, bones, and even our brains. It's hard to say exactly how much plastic is in any one person, but these particles are just the tip of the iceberg. There are over 16,000 chemicals involved in plastic production, and whenever plastic enters your body, some of these chemicals do too. The vast majority of these have health impacts we don't yet understand, making it tricky to link specific health issues with specific chemicals and plastics. However, researchers have identified a few particularly dangerous groups. Endocrine-disrupting chemicals such as phthalates, PFAS, and BPA are known to alter hormonal activity, wreaking havoc across the body. By activating or inhibiting hormone receptors, EDCs can hijack our metabolisms, increasing the risk for obesity and type 2 diabetes. They can mimic testosterone and estrogen, confusing our body's hormonal balance. In women, high phthalate levels have been linked with pregnancy complications. And in men, high BPA exposure has been connected to lower sperm count. In fact, research suggests these chemicals have contributed to the global decline in sperm count over the past 50 years. Today, most people encounter these chemicals before they're even born. A study on over 300 preteens found that exposure to EDCs in utero may have impacted when they entered puberty over a decade later. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by this plastic plague. After all, there are no medical interventions for getting this material out of our bodies. And data suggests these particles accumulate inside us faster than we excrete them through sweat, urine, and feces. But small choices you make each day can reduce how much plastic enters your body. When buying clothes, look for pieces made from natural fibers without toxic chemicals. Swap your plastic cutting boards and storage containers for wood, stainless steel, and glass replacements. Eliminate single-use plastic and buy fresh, unpackaged foods whenever possible. The more people stop buying plastic, the less of it we'll see. But fixing a problem this big requires big solutions. Just like gasoline, plastic is a petrochemical product made and sold at a massive scale. So it's going to take legislation on the local, state, and country level to make this material safer and regulate just how much of it we put into our world and our bodies. Don't underestimate your impact. Small changes can have large-scale impact when enough of us make them.
A glass of water, or even just breathing the air and tiny plastic particles are entering your body without you knowing. Sounds like science fiction? Well, it's happening right now. Today we're diving deep into the hidden world of microplastics, and I'll show you 3 surprising ways they sneak into your body every single day. Before we start, let's understand what microplastics really are. Microplastics are tiny fragments of plastic smaller than 5 millimeters. Some are even invisible to the naked eye. They come from the breakdown of larger plastics, like bottles, packaging, or even synthetic fabrics. Over the past decade, researchers have discovered that microplastics are everywhere in the oceans, rivers, soil, and even the air we breathe. And here's the shocking part. They're not just polluting the environment, they're finding their way into our bodies. Scientists have now detected microplastics in human blood, lungs, and even stool samples. That's right, tiny plastic pieces inside humans. But how do they get in? Most people think it's only through plastic packaging or eating plastic-contaminated food. That's true, but it's not the whole story. Let's explore 3 ways that might surprise you. The first surprising way microplastics can enter your body is through the air you breathe. Studies have shown that tiny plastic particles are floating in the atmosphere, especially in cities, industrial areas, and near busy roads. How does this happen? Plastics in the environment break down into smaller pieces due to sunlight, wind, and friction. Some of these fragments become light enough to travel in the air as dust. These particles are so tiny that when we inhale, they can enter our lungs and, potentially, even the bloodstream. One 2021 study found that people living in urban areas can inhale up to 100,000 microplastic particles per year. And it's not just cities. Microplastics have even been detected in remote mountain regions and rural areas. Think about synthetic fabrics like polyester or nylon. When we wash clothes, tiny fibers shed into wastewater, which eventually evaporates and becomes airborne. Even simple dust around your home can carry these plastic fibers. So, every time you breathe indoors or outdoors, you might be inhaling invisible microplastics. It's a pathway most people never consider, but it's one of the most significant ways plastics enter the human body. Singhal animation of microplastic particles floating in the air and entering lungs, city streets with dust clouds containing tiny plastics. The second way microplastics enter the body is through water, and this one might hit closer to home because we all drink water every day. Research has shown that both tap water and bottled water can contain microplastics. Why does this happen? Plastic particles in rivers, lakes, and oceans break down into microplastics. Water treatment plants are not yet fully capable of removing all of them. Even bottled water isn't safe. A 2018 study analyzed 250 bottles from 11 brands worldwide and found that 93% of them contained microplastic particles, some so tiny they were invisible to the naked eye. Microplastics have been found in common drinking water sources around the globe, including rainwater, tap water, and even filtered water. And it's not just drinking water. Microplastics are in beverages like tea, beer, and even some juices. Some researchers suggest that a typical person could ingest tens of thousands of microplastic particles per year just from drinking water alone. The concern isn't just about the plastic itself. It's also about chemicals that plastics carry. Microplastics can absorb toxic substances like pesticides and heavy metals from the environment. When these particles enter our body, they may release these toxins, potentially affecting our health over time. The third surprising way is through food. You might think you're safe if you avoid plastic packaging, but microplastics have been detected in a wide range of foods. Seafood is one of the most common sources. Fish and shellfish ingest microplastics in the oceans, and when we eat them, especially shellfish like mussels or shrimp, we can ingest the plastics too. Studies have shown that a single serving of mussels can contain hundreds of microplastic particles. But it's not just seafood. Microplastics are also found in table salt, honey, sugar, rice, and even beer. Some researchers suggest that even eating fruits and vegetables grown in plastic-contaminated soil can introduce microplastics into our diet. The tiny particles can come from packaging, from processing machines, or from the environment itself. Over time, the accumulation of these plastics in our diet may be significant, even if we don't realize it. Now, you might be wondering what happens if microplastics get into our body. Scientists are still researching, but early studies suggest a few potential concerns. Inflammation. Microplastics may trigger immune responses and inflammation in tissues like the gut and lungs. Toxin exposure. As I mentioned earlier, microplastics can carry harmful chemicals that may accumulate in the body. Digestive issues. Some studies suggest microplastics could disrupt gut bacteria and digestive health. Long-term risks. We don't yet fully understand the long-term effects, but researchers warn about possible impacts on organs, reproductive health, and overall cellular function. In short, microplastics are not just an environmental issue, they're a potential health issue too. While completely avoiding microplastics may be impossible, there are steps you can take to reduce exposure. Filter your water use. High-quality water filters to remove microplastics. Avoid single-use plastics, reduce plastic bottles, packaging, and straws. Eat mindfully. Limit processed foods, and be selective with seafood. Ventilate and clean homes. Dust regularly and improve indoor air quality to reduce airborne microplastics. Choose natural fabrics, cotton, wool, and silk. Shed fewer microfibers than synthetic fabrics. Every small step helps reduce the plastic burden on your body. Microplastics are everywhere in the air, water, and food. While science is still uncovering the full impact, it's clear that these tiny plastics can enter our bodies in surprising ways. Awareness is the first step toward protecting yourself. If you learned something shocking today, hit the like button and share this video with friends and family. Don't forget to subscribe for more health insights that actually matter, because your body deserves to stay plastic-free as much as possible.